You'd be forgiven if you don't remember Ray Epps, one of the self-proclaimed Trump supporters who pleaded guilty for his involvement on January 6th and became the subject of wild conspiracy theories. The allegation, amplified by Tucker Carlson, was that Epps secretly worked as a federal agent that day. Epps decided to sue Fox News for defamation, noting that after the accusations were aired on Tucker's show, Republicans tried to link Epps to conspiracy theories, suggesting he was involved in planning the attack. Among them, Texas Senator Ted Cruz. Epps testified to the House January 6th committee that the theories had ruined his life. But the conspiracy theory that federal agents were involved or somehow orchestrated the violence on January 6th has metastasized into the Republican Party writ large, especially now that House Speaker Mike Johnson has rewarded the MAGA fringe by pledging to release nearly all January 6th footage. Utah Senator Mike Lee was quick to join the effort to whitewash the deadly insurrection, attacking former January 6th committee member Liz Cheney after she posted video of the violence on social media. Lee wrote, P.S. How many of these guys are feds? As if you'd ever tell us. Taking the conspiracy theories further, Lee also reposted a former West Virginia legislator who questioned if an insurrectionist in an image was flashing a badge. Lee wrote, I can't wait to ask FBI Director Christopher Wray about this at our next oversight hearing. Reporters were quick to point out the image actually shows January 6th defendant Kevin Lyons, a self-proclaimed idiot who, among other things, stole a photo of John Lewis and a staffer's wallet from then Speaker Nancy Pelosi's office and has been sentenced to 4 years in prison. As for that supposed badge, it appears to be a vape pen that Lyons was seen holding in other images from that day. But the specious badge conspiracy was unsurprisingly also embraced by Marjorie Taylor Greene, who initially mentioned the badge in a since-deleted line in a lengthy rant calling for a new investigation of January 6th and who claimed MAGA didn't do it. Joining me now is Congressman Jamie Raskin of Maryland, who served on the January 6th Select Committee. Congressman, the conspiracy theorists have gone from saying January 6th was just a calm and peaceful tourist visit to now saying, yeah, it was violent, but the feds did it. Interesting switch in their storyline. What do you make of the fact that Mike Lee, a supposed serious person and United States Senator, has joined in?
Well, they're constantly shifting apologies and rationales for what happened on that day. I mean, half the time they're saying it was feds and Antifa who were the people in the mob that stormed the Capitol. The other half of the time, they're saying they're political prisoners and hostages, and they should be released immediately or pardoned. Those things are obviously in complete contradiction. If it was really Antifa and federal agents, why would Marjorie Taylor Greene and Matt Gaetz be spending all this time trying to get them out of jail? They know exactly who's in there. It was the right-wing MAGA mob that Donald Trump recruited to go there, but they're trying to bury the whole event in disinformation and propaganda, so there's confusion. And thank God we've got all of this security footage and tapes and TV cameras taking pictures of it, because if there was nothing visual, they would be denying that the whole thing happened. And, you know, that is the ultimate destination of authoritarian movements like Donald Trump's. They just try to whitewash and wipe out history.
Let me play, and again, I apologize for making you listen to something stupid. But this is Representative Clay Higgins of Louisiana questioning FBI Director Chris Wray last week in the Homeland Security Committee hearing. Take a listen.
Can you confirm that the FBI had that sort of engagement with your own agents embedded into the crowd on January 6th?
If you are asking whether the violence at the Capitol on January 6th was part of some operation orchestrated by FBI sources and or agents, the answer is emphatically
You're saying
not.
no?
No.
You're saying no?
Not
okay.
Violence orchestrated by FBI sources or agents.
I mean, a lot of this, it feels very performative. He's sort of blown up in MAGA social media by doing that. But, you know, it's one thing for him to do it. I think Mike Lee is a different thing, though, because, you know, Mike Lee sort of styles himself as some sort of constitutional conservative and an intelligent person. The fact that a senator is doing it, to me, is a different level. What do you think the end game is here? Because as you said, they keep changing their storyline. If they want to now have new hearings where they try to blame the FBI for doing January 6th, can you even fathom what their end game is for saying that?
I mean, that is an essentially authoritarian and fascist tactic to try to confuse everyone. I mean, it is this goes back to the totalitarian movements of the 1930s and the kinds of tricks and lies that they told. But what's interesting is that during the impeachment trial, Trump's lawyers were very emphatic to say, we denounce what happened here. We have nothing to do with what happened here. Donald Trump had nothing to do with it. I urged him to say that that would always be their position, because you could see that already the political wheels were turning to try to rewrite the history of it. But in a legal sense, they pretended to divorce themselves from what had happened. But now they're in a full-fledged embrace of the MAGA violence that took place. And that is a hallmark of an authoritarian movement. They don't accept election results that don't go their way, and they refuse to renounce, or they openly embrace political violence as a tactic for achieving political power. Mike Lee doesn't really surprise me. He entered a completely disruptive and vacuous objection in the middle of the impeachment trial. So he's been trying to confuse things from the very beginning. And he's essentially on the side of those who are saying they will use any means necessary, including violence, to put Donald Trump into power and to keep him into power.
Yeah, and he has also admitted he wants to get rid of Social Security. I think that's his end game. And by the way, he also ran. They all ran. They all claimed it wasn't an insurrection, yet they were all running with everyone else, terrified of that mob. And I will note that the Colorado judge who ruled that Trump is able to stay on the ballot also said he engaged in insurrection. They also said it wasn't insurrection. I want to go to a little bit a separate issue just for a moment. There is now a big fight over this gag order, and a gag order that the Trump campaign would like taken away. And Judge Chutkan, the claim is that it makes a terrible precedent. Let me just let you listen to Trump's lawyer. His name is John Sauer, arguing about the precedential problem of having a gag order on Donald Trump. Take a listen.
Gag order in this case installs a single federal district judge as a filter for core political speech between a leading presidential candidate and virtually every American voter in the United States at the very height of a presidential campaign. The order is unprecedented, and it sets a terrible precedent for future restrictions on core political speech.
Congressman Sauer also argued that there was no evidence that Donald Trump's words have led to violence or led to any threats of violence or harassment. I would just like to allow you to comment on that and on Sauer's arguments about free speech and candidates.
Well, the first part is plainly false, as we saw from January 6th itself, when Donald Trump, invade to the crowd that they needed to go and to fight and fight like hell, or they wouldn't have a country anymore. And when there's cheating involved, there's a whole different set of rules. And the courts are starting to find exactly what we asserted at the impeachment trial, which is that even if you want to treat him like a bum on the street and not the president of the United States, he falls well within the Brandenburg rule, which says that your speech is not protected if you're inciting imminent lawless action, for example, violence against the government. So that's clearly wrong. In any event, his case is just like everybody else's case in the country. When you're before a court, you have a right to engage in all the political free speech you want. You just can't engage in speech that would materially undermine the integrity of the proceedings by trying to intimidate or prejudice jurors or witnesses. And that's all that's at stake here. In most cases that I've seen like this, if somebody actually does use their speech to intimidate a juror or, of course, try to threaten somebody or bribe somebody, they're thrown into jail.
Yes.
So a gag order is just an attempt to avoid that ultimate outcome.
Yeah, absolutely. He's getting a big pass because he was a former president. Congressman Jamie Raskin, thank you, as always. Cheers.